All right, we'll just get started here. I hope you guys can hear me. If you are able to hear me, send me a reaction, heart, clapping emoji, wave, whatever, just to make sure. All right, Jason's giving you a reaction. It looks like at least Jason can hear me. Okay. So since you're all here, I'm assuming you're already interested in this topic. We're obviously going to talk about it, but at the same time, we don't have a lot of people here still. So we might spend a few minutes, you know, just staying here, waiting for people to show up a little bit, and then going to the main topic. But let me pin this post at the top just to set the stage. So what I said in this post is, I guess you could call it a hot take. To me, it's not a hot take. It's just the truth. In today's market, applying for a job in tech online is mostly a waste of time. And mostly is a keyword here because I didn't say it's completely a waste of time. It's not completely a waste of time. You still are able to get a job through applying online. There is a possibility of getting a decent job by applying online, but most of those opportunities are already gone. And here's what I mean by that. Suppose you have a lot of experience. You're more of a senior talent. 5 years of experience, 10 years of experience, whatever that might be. Even before the current conditions of the market, most ways people got jobs in tech for senior talents were through networking, through LinkedIn, and their personal connections. And so for them already, applying for jobs was not the best way to get jobs. And that was like 5 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever that might have been. And that's even more true now for people who have a lot of experience. And you might say, oh, what about new grads, people who have less experience, current students? It used to be the case that applying for jobs was pretty effective. Like 5 years ago, that's what I would have recommended. I would have said, just apply for jobs. It's not a big deal. And then 2 years ago, I would have said, apply for jobs, but also do these other things that we're going to discuss today. And now, because of the current conditions of the market, I wouldn't even bother personally. Obviously, if that's what you want to do, then there's nothing I can do about it. You do what you do, you do whatever you want to do. But it's not the most effective way to get a job anymore. When you apply for a job, what happens online is you click apply, easy apply, whatever. It's very tempting because it's right there, right? But it's almost like, what's the expression? It's like bread in the picture, something like that. It looks like it's there, but it's not really. Because when you apply, your application goes into the system, it gets filtered, or it gets, algorithms, and most of the time people don't even see it. There are hundreds of other applicants, and no human, no matter how fast they are, is able to go through all these, hundreds of applications and find the best one. Instead, what they do is rely on algorithms, rely on their own connections, and just look through, let's say, the first 100 or however many they need to go through to find the right candidates. And that's it. The rest, they're not even able to look at them. And even the ones they look at them really quickly. And what that means is that even if you're the best applicant, let's say in the pile, you might not even get a chance. So that's why I say applying for a job in tech online is mostly a waste of time in today's market. That was different before. That could be different 2 years from now, 5 years from now. Predicting the future is always hard. But in today's market, that is the case. And if anyone's agree with, if anyone disagrees with me, they can comment their data, their arguments in the comment section. But at this point, I'm pretty confident about this. So that's the reason. But we can move on to the solutions part, right? But before we move on to the solutions part, I see a couple faces that I recognize. So if any of you want to jump in and share your thoughts, feel free to do that. I'll wait. Okay, I think a couple of new people just came in here. I just introduced the topic. I explained why applying for a job online is not the best way to get a job, especially nowadays. In my opinion, mostly a waste of time. But again, you do you do whatever you want. And we're going to move on to the solutions part in a minute. But I was calling people to come up here if they want to share their thoughts quickly. And now I wait for 60 seconds, let's just say. And then if no one comes up, I'll just continue. I see Jason, Vishal, Marino, welcome. I hope you can hear me. spaceX Rajneesh Dojo, that's a long name. Cool to see you. GIE. Any of you can come up. But again, I'll just wait for 60 seconds and then we'll move on. All right, I didn't wait for 60 seconds, but since there are newer people here, more people here, let me just move on and continue. And I probably have at least a few minutes of stuff to say here. So if apply for a job online is not effective anymore, what to do then? What to do instead? Well, there are several alternatives. The first one is networking. This is not necessarily the best way to go about it. It's not necessarily the best method, but it is the first method that everyone should try. How should you go about it? I would go to LinkedIn. I would go to Discord, X Twitter, meetups, conferences, wherever you can go to talk to actual human beings, go there. And networking, take it as a long-term game, not a short-term one. So don't just go there and say, hey, my name is so-and-so, I'm looking for a job. That's the worst way to go about it, in my opinion, because you sound needy, you sound desperate. No one wants to talk to people like that, to be honest. So instead, go in there and just be cool. Be a cool community member that contributes value. That's always a key word there. And then get to know people, get people to know you. And over time, you start to build good connections there. So let's say you go to a meetup, right? Then what you should do is you should just introduce yourself, be confident of the value that you have to offer. Again, don't be desperate, be hungry, but not desperate. And then ask them what they're looking for. See if you can help them in any way. If you feel like you don't have the ability to help someone look for what they're looking for, find what they're looking for, then a good way to approach that might be to help them find someone else who has that thing that they're looking for. So, say they're looking for an iOS job, you don't have an iOS job, find someone who's offering that. Say you find someone who needs help with PHP, you know nothing about PHP, that's fine. Just find someone who knows PHP. So you might not be able to offer the stuff that they're looking for right away, again, offering value, but you might be able to offer value in a sense of making connections. Anyone can do it, but almost no one does it. It's probably because they just don't think of it, they don't care about other people, but you do need to care about other people for them to start caring about you. That's sort of the fundamental part of it, but the you know the more sort of details of it is that first you need to find relevant events. Events is a really good way to go about it. That actually goes into the next point, or actually the fourth point. I'm jumping around here in the pinned post. But let's go to the events because that's related to networking. So what I would do is I would first go to LinkedIn and find relevant events to you. X Twitter, I think that's fine. To a lesser extent, I would see more as a practice. LinkedIn is the real deal because that's where jobs are. More jobs are there. Here you get to learn stuff, you get to practice your communication skills. But LinkedIn, I would target it more. And there's also, again, in-person events, meetups, conferences. Some of these conferences are expensive, but if you offer to volunteer, if you offer to, again, contribute value in one way or another, then you might be able to go there for free sometimes. So definitely try that. If that option doesn't work, let me know because it should. Who doesn't like a volunteer? These event organizations organizing these events, Marino can probably tell you it's a really hard thing. So if anyone's willing to volunteer, help out, there's no reason to say no, really. And then at these, let's say, online events, on LinkedIn events, find events of your niche. If you're not able to find them at the times you're able to attend, you can make them too. You don't have to rely on other people to always create their events. You can call it, an interview series with industry experts or whatever that is, and then start reaching out to people, interview them. You might not get a lot of people at the beginning, but you know what it's like to organize these interviews, these events, how hard it is, and then you might get a little bit of audience over time. And after giving like all these pieces of advice, I always think you got to take it into action. You got to do something about it. You can't just listen to it. You need to take at least one thing out of this space that you want to implement yourself in your life, in your own career, and actually do it. Let's move on to the next topic, building in public. In my opinion, this is still the best way to go about it. I think what's misunderstood often here is that it doesn't happen on its own building in public. You don't just build in public and let people come or hope that people will find you. You still need to network. But once you network, how do you keep in touch with the people that you got connected with? Posting online is a great way to do that. You can obviously do DMs, talk to them directly. That's fine. But at the same time, if you do it publicly, if you post stuff publicly, they'll see it. They'll see what you're building. They'll see the kinds of community you're building, the kinds of content you're building. And that's a nice way to keep in touch with people, because that way you don't need to necessarily talk to people individually. It's less awkward if they don't want to, react to your content. They don't have to do that. You're giving them a space to, interact with the content, your content and you, in a way they feel more comfortable. So basically, my recommendation is to first network, but that's sort of not the end goal. But first network, get to know people, and then build your own presence, build your online presence, build your own community, build in public. Could be a website, could be an app, could be a business, whatever it is. Build stuff, share it, so that people can see your progress. Let's move on to the next thing, which is open source. Open source, I recommend it less at this point because it is starting to get saturated, but it's still better than apply for jobs online, in my opinion. And it can be a good way to building in public as well. So what I would do there is, first of all, if you're looking for a remote job in tech, open source is probably a good way to go about that. If not, I would do something else, to be honest. Open source, it's great still. If you're a big fan of it, there's no reason for me to stop you from contributing. But at the same time, if your primary job, if your primary goal is to get a job in tech, it doesn't have to be open source. The way you build in public, let's say, doesn't have to be open source. It could be closed sourced. It just needs to be solid projects, basically. Ideally, when you build in public, you want to honestly build a business out of it. So that way, you don't even have to rely on someone else to give you a job. You can just build a job yourself. And in my opinion, the best position to be in for looking for a job is not needing one in the first place. That way, you're not in a rush. You don't have to take a job you don't want to take. You don't have to take a pay cut. You can just wait for the right opportunity and keep building in public and keep building your online presence. In the post, I didn't mention online presence, but that's something I should have mentioned. Building in public and building your online presence, they sort of come hand in hand, basically. And then the last item that we haven't discussed yet is freelancing. Freelancing, I don't necessarily recommend it at this point because it is also getting really, really competitive. But you can still do it. It's still less terrible than applying for a job online, in my opinion, because applying for a job online, you're asking for a lot. You're asking for a full-time commitment for yourself, but from them too, from the employer too. The question is, why would they trust you? You're just a nobody, basically, online. If they know you, then you're not a nobody. So make them know you through networking, through building in public and building your online presence, through open source or freelancing to a lesser extent. With freelancing, they're still taking a risk, but they're taking a smaller risk with you. Instead of spending $10,000, $30,000 hiring you full time, they're spending you $500, $100, $300, maybe 1,000. That's much less of a risk for them, and they can, once you have more experience, they can check other people's reviews, ratings, and all of that. And so it's much easier for them to trust you for freelancing than a full-time job. So that's why freelancing is less terrible, again, for getting a job in tech than applying for a job online, but still not the best option. Again, to recap, what I recommend first is networking. And then once you have a little bit of network, what I always say is 20 engaged followers on whatever platform you want to focus on, then start building in public. When I say building in public, it doesn't have to be tech necessarily. It could be a community, it could be an interview series, it could be a show. Whatever you're passionate about, whatever you feel like the world needs or yourself needs, do that. If you don't have an idea for anything like that, you can help other people build their communities, their tech. That's totally fine too. And then I would say to a lesser extent, open source and freelancing. Going to events, I highly recommend that for building in public and networking. Sorry, I meant going to events. I recommend it for networking. Again, network first and then building public. That's my opinion. Thanks for listening. I'm not sure if anyone wants to come up and ask questions or contribute their thoughts, but I will pin this event at the top that's happening on October 24th, 7 a.m. Pacific, I believe. We're going to talk more about building in public, a little bit of networking, not too much, and building your online presence. Again, in my opinion, that's still the best way to get a job in tech in this year and next year. It's not necessarily the first thing that you should do. The first thing that you should do again is to network online and offline at events and asynchronously. So synchronously and asynchronously, right? If you don't know what it means, look it up. And that's pretty much it. Come join our event on October 24th. I do see a request now, so I'll accept it. And then I think I'll accept it. And then we'll see what this person has to say. When you're up here, make sure to state your question or your thought, whatever you have, concisely, because I really don't want to mute you or put you back on the stage or put you back into the audience. And by the way, if you follow me, it helps me a little bit to, decide to let you back or let you be on the stage. It's a little bit early for me, so I'm still waking up. But thanks for being here, everyone. I'll say, Lawrence, good to see you. You're laughing. It's kind of funny. Augustine, Tony, Vishal, Marina, everyone. Any of you, feel free to come up here. But first, we're going to have our first speaker. Hello, Daniels.
Then YK. Thank you for having me on the space. My question is based on building in public, and I would like to ask that is it a good practice, to tag people when you build a project? Maybe like you want to tag someone to take a look at your project. I know Mr. Lawrence has answered this question in your last space in the comment session, but I would just like to hear your view on it. Thank you.
Okay, I'll try to understand that question a little bit more. Why would you tag someone?
Okay, yes. Let's say I build a project, maybe from front end mentor, or I write an article, then I want maybe people to see it for visibility. And I say, let's say I write an article on accessibility, then I tag Mr. Graham, or I write something on AI, I tag you. Would that be a right practice?
So generally, I think you can tag anyone you want as long as it's relevant, as long as it's not spammy. I've seen these cases where people tag like 10 people that are not really relevant. As long as you tag them and have probably a targeted message saying, something like, Graham, I appreciate your work. I was inspired by your work to write this application. I write this article. I just wanted to let you know. No pressure. you know, uh, you don't want to like give them feel like you're pressuring them to take a look at your article or anything like that. And as long as you keep that in mind, I think it's fine. If you tag me, chances are I'm not gonna look at it, just so you know. But if you tag other people, they might be able to take a look.
Okay, thank you. That's my question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the question. I do see one request here. Only one request out of like 40 people, I think. I'm not sure if it's the topic or if it's people just being quiet, but this person seems like a real person. Let me accept them. Looks like it's taking a little bit for them to come up here. So I'll wait. And I'll wait for anyone to request too. Honestly, yeah, I feel already pretty satisfied with this space. I've done it for 30 minutes. Looks like that person had trouble coming up here. So we don't have to keep going longer than necessary. I feel like I've covered what I wanted to cover in this particular space. But I'll wait for anyone to come up. I might just change the title to something like "We'll wait for 5 minutes and then close" or something like that. Anyway, while I change the title, Daniel, since you're already here, do you want to talk more about your situation?
Okay. The thing is, I I've been doing some projects and writing some articles. I'm always kind of like tempted to just add some people, tag them, but I always feel like you did not feel like you said spammy. So I just okay, let me just post it like that without tagging anybody, except maybe it was I think of recent I tagged someone. Person is even here, Augustine, and because I was on his session. So I just said let me tag him because I was there and all like that. But if I do a personal project, I want to tag, but I eventually don't tag people because I just feel okay, if it's going to gain visibility, let it just happen on its own. So that's why I asked the question for future projects that I plan to do.
Right. Yeah. So, like I said, I think it's totally fine to tag people. And the fact that you're worried about it, that's a really good sign. Most people who have this problem tagging too many people, they don't even really think about it. Lawrence, welcome.
Thank you, YK. Is my audio okay?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay. I really didn't plan to speak, but since we came back to this topic and I have strong emotions about this topic, I thought I'd offer a sentence or two. If I were to show up to a meetup tomorrow and my purpose is networking, the best thing I can do is show up and listen to the conversation that's already happening. Let's say I'm new, I'm brand new, I'm looking to get a job in tech, and I don't have many connections already. The best thing I can do is go and listen for the context of what's being talked about, not only the main talk, but even the side conversations, little conversations before the main talk, little conversations after. And where I see a good entry point, I can insert myself in those public conversations. And if I have something valuable to say, if I don't have anything valuable to say, I probably should just stay quiet and keep listening. But that's just a general purpose good thing to do. We call it reading the room. And so, what I say about social media is emphasize the social and de emphasize the media. So, for me, now this is opinion, this is Lawrence's opinion. Oh, overly tagging, which is something that has happened to me and puts me in a very bad mood, is an emphasis on the media. It gives the general impression that I want you to look at me. I want you to look at me. Please look at me. Hey, I'm over here. Please look at me, which is not a good way to extend your brand to people. My encouragement would be to do the same thing on social media that you would do in person, as opposed to just running up in the meeting and yelling, hey, everybody, look at me. Join conversations that are already in public. That's the whole point in having a feed. When you start to follow people of interest who are doing things you're interested in or working in companies you're interested in and they post, you can get in their comments and share valuable insights. Might be just a word or two, few sentences, paragraph, what have you. Over time, as they enjoy what you're sharing, they'll follow you, which means when you post, your posts will show up on their feed. And if they're interested and they like what you've posted, they will like it and they will comment. And the continual process goes back and forth. I, to date, and I want to do an analytics search, I am fairly certain I have never in my life tagged a person in a post that I made that was not directly involved in the post. I mean, directly, 100% something they said, something they did, a picture we took together, an event we're going to together, something directly. Because I just don't think it's a good way to demonstrate my brand. I'm concerned about my brand, not only my tech. We all are bigger than our tech. You are an entire brand, you're a business. And so you want your reputation to reflect certain things about you and not reflect other things. And so the natural thing that you would do in an in-person meetup, which is to if you're new now, join existing conversations, in my opinion, is a smart thing to do on social. Start because I see, Mr. Daniels, you have 150 followers. You just joined Twitter in January. And it's almost like I could be wrong, but it's almost like you wanting, I need more people to follow my post. I want some more likes. I want some more attention. And I just want you to slow down. If that's the case, if I'm wrong, hey, kick my advice to the curb. It won't be the first time I'm wrong. But if I'm right, I'm going to encourage you to slow down and just start joining more existing conversations with value. Not about, here's my project. Talk about what other people are doing. Show interest in others. Contribute to others. Look to give more than to take. And when you do that, people will have a better impression of you and your brand, and they will follow you. And the next thing you turn around, you'll have 1,000 followers. You have all these followers and people liking your posts and interacting with you, which is apparently what you're going for. A dubious goal, but that's your goal. It's go for it. But my encouragement to you is de-emphasize the media part of X or Twitter. Emphasize the social part. Just be a regular, decent human being by engaging in public conversations with your value, and you will get all the attention you want, more than you can handle. Trust me.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. That's really helped, and even in double ways because this November I will be like attending my first conference, tech conference, CTJS JavaScript conference here in Nigeria, Lagos. And what you said, I think I'll be able to apply it there, to listen more, and wherever I can join in conversations. So thank you very much for your answer.
You're welcome.
Okay, Daniel's, you know, what the point Lawrence made was actually really a good one, to read the room and then be there for basically the conversation that's already happening. I'm curious if you've already done that online or offline. Have you tried your best to get to know other people here?
Yes, I actually do like respond to people's posts, just wherever I can respond that, pertaining to probably my knowledge and things like that. And I follow quite a number of people that are on the stage, sorry, in listener sessions here too.
Okay, and I'm just going through your timeline now. It looks like you've retweeted a bunch of my stuff. Appreciate it. But at the same time, whenever you post your stuff, they don't seem to be getting a lot of likes. What you probably want to do is try to connect with individual people. I think tagging people is fine. You don't always have to go for the biggest people on the platform, like say Graham. You can go for people who are less known, who have hundreds of followers instead of thousands, and talk to them because they're not inundated with tags and messages. If you talk to them, chances are they'll talk to you back. Not everyone will, but more people will. So that's what I would suggest.
Yes, thank you. I will do that.
All right, perfect. Again, I think what I'll do is I'll just wait for someone to come up because I feel like there might be someone who wants to ask questions. Maybe they feel shy or something talking in front of the audience. But we're pretty nice here. As long as you're, being sensitive about what's going on, understanding of our situation, we'll be fine. So I'll wait probably for like 4 minutes. We might just stay silent for 4 minutes and then we'll go from there.
Dojo. I have a question.
Oh, yeah. Before that, you sound a little bit too quiet.
Okay, and what about it now?
It's the same.
Let me.
Okay, you sound a little bit far from your mic, and I'm getting a lot of feedback. I'm hearing my own voice. You might want to basically bring your mic, a little bit closer to your mouth, probably, and make sure to use the phone's built-in mic instead of a Bluetooth mic.
Okay, what about now?
Right, it's still really quiet,
Okay, and now?
and and the and it's are you using a Bluetooth microphone?
I'm using an earphone.
And is it Bluetooth or wired?
No, it is wired. It is wired. I'm also like on the browser. Maybe I can, if you guys will still be here, I can install the X app because I'm on the browser on my phone.
Okay. I think that might help. You know, even on the browser, if you just speak directly into the mic of your wired headphones, that will probably help too.
Okay, and now?
I think
What
it's
about
slightly
now? Okay. Okay, so my question is regarding what Lawrence said. Like is it Lawrence? Yeah. Um, it's not just all about posting your projects and stuff. So my question is, what if you are just giving your own content and you are not engaging too much into maybe like others tweets, commenting and stuff? What if most of your attention, say 80%, is just you posting your own things, okay, value, and like 20% commenting on others' tweets? Will will that still increase your chances in getting a job?
short answer is yes, but longer answer is probably not enough. I'll check your profile here. You should be getting at least a few likes, which you might already be getting. And your audience should be expanding if you want to focus on that approach. You know, if you get like a couple likes today, you know, 10 likes next week and 20 likes next month, something like that, then something is working there. But if not, you're not expanding your audience. So the focus should be expanding your audience, expanding your network. You could totally focus on your existing network, and that might just work. But you know, in today's market, you probably need to do more. All right, same stuff as always. I'll wait for someone to come up. But if people want to learn more about building in public, sharing your thoughts online, building your online presence, all of that, check out the pinned tweet. We're going to talk more about it on October 24th on our Discord.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that if anyone is in Nigeria, Lagos, there is actually a tech conference coming up in November, CTJS JavaScript conference, if you are interested. So I just wanted to just say that. And also, I would like to, if you are going from here particularly, like if you're on this space and you're interested, I would just like to connect with you physically when, during the conference. So you can just send a DM or check out their site to register online.
Okay, thanks for coming up and sharing that. And we'll see if anyone else wants to come up here. Okay, the reason I put you back into the audience section is because, the first thing you said, that's totally fine. The second thing you said is fine too. But at the same time, you need to be there for other people. You can't just be there to, try to take help from other people. You need to help other people too. What I've noticed is, this is a funny thing, but when someone follows a lot of people and not a lot of people follow them, sometimes there's nothing wrong with that, but oftentimes I found that they don't listen. They just talk. Who wants to be around people like that? Don't be people like that. I'm not saying, you're one of those people, but don't be like that. You need to listen, like Lawrence was saying, to what other people are interested in, what other people are trying to achieve. And then once you provide value, then you can start talking about yourself, what you have going on, your own community, your own social media accounts, whatever you're trying to do. So what happens is, let's say you go to, since we're talking about networking tech here, let's say you go to a meetup, you start talking to people. If you say, I'm looking for a job, no one would be interested, really. Why should they be interested? Hundreds of people are looking for jobs. Thousands of people are looking for jobs. Why should they be interested in you? I would flip that and say, ask them, hey, what are you looking for? If they're looking for a job, you don't necessarily compete with them because they may have different skill sets. They may have different areas of focus. So just ask them. Try to understand what they're looking for. And again, connect them to someone who can offer that thing. That way you're listening more. When you listen more, you'll have more followers. I mean, that's kind of silly, but it's true. When you talk more, you'll have more people you follow, but not a lot of people who will follow you. I know that's contradictory. Like, obviously you need to talk online, you need to say something for people to be able to follow you. But how do you know what you have to say? How do I know what I have to say? I just listen. If you look at my main account, YK Dojo, you notice that I don't post that much compared to, like active people here. And that's because I mostly just listen. And the post I made here, right? One of the pin posts, hot take in today's market, applying for a job in tech online is mostly a waste of time. I didn't just come up randomly. This is based on data. This is based on my experiences. When people say apply for jobs online, that's a really bad advice. Bad piece of advice, to be honest. Obviously, if you want to do it, that's fine. I didn't say it is important. It's a complete waste of time, like I said earlier. But it is mostly a waste of time. No matter where you are. That's the fact. If you disagree, you can let me know, right? If you say, oh, in Europe it's actually different, it is the best way to get a job, in tech in Europe, in government sector, so whatever that might be, you can let me know because I'm listening. The point I was trying to make is that you need to listen first to know what to say. If you don't have anything to say, I think that's totally fine. But if you have just stuff to say about promoting yourself, then honestly, I don't want you here. If you're here to ask good questions, that's great. If you're here to take advantage of my audience, I don't want you here. And, this is a little bit off topic, but still related, in my opinion. Some people notice that like these spaces are growing and then they join and then they start talking and then they don't listen. I don't like that. I just put them back into the audience section. When I do that, when I put someone into the audience section, there's Not necessarily anything wrong with them. Sometimes I just want to, sort of have a smaller stage. But it has happened before. I would ask them, like, where were you when I was talking to myself, to a group of like two people? Where were you then? Why are you here now? And why aren't you listening when I talk? I'm the host. I did all this work to build my audience. Why don't you respect that? So to connect that back to the topic, that's how you network. You need to listen, understand what people need. If they need help, go help them. You might feel like, oh, that's too much work. No, it doesn't have to be too much work. It can be a little bit. It can be as simple as getting water for someone. It doesn't take that much work. Or moving chairs. It doesn't take that much work. With that, I'm going to accept the speaker here. Let's see what they have to say. All right, I think I'm having trouble accepting this person. Okay, you're here. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to share something. I kind of agree what YK just mentioned. Um, what I wanted to share is that I think my friend used to tell me that when your manager is looking for like hiring a new engineer or what, they normally will ask for the peers first. If none of their peers will like have a like good recommendation on the candidate, they would normally just posting on online. So I think you're right. So probably the best position will offer, I think, is basically through referral network instead of like job posting ads. Yeah, this is what I can share. And then long story short, just I think I got laid off this week. So the whole engineering team is gone. So I'm currently looking for a job too. So yeah, not a good experience that this is the first time I got laid off, and then the first time working with a US startup. Yeah, that's about it for me.
Okay. If you don't mind sharing, would it be possible for you to share, your situation? What was the startup like?
Yeah, sure. I don't mind. Actually I'm working with a US startup. So we do market making service in crypto. Basically, we target token issuer. So I'm a full stack engineer working in the company. So kind of like maintaining like a like a site and yeah. So because of the runway, the money is not. I mean, the runway is short, so they have to lay off in order to like keep the operation going. So they cut like half of the company got let go. So also I want to want I want for the sorry. So something like to share is that how I got this job is I actually like back in like 5 years or 6 years ago I working with another startup, but somehow they don't have a office, so I kind of like working in a co-working space. That's how I network my friends, my coworker there. So one of my coworker like refer me into the company. That's why I got a job. So mostly on my career, um, so on my career, I never like got apply a job online, mostly through referral. This is what I can share.
Right. I think that's a pretty common experience. Um, one thing I would mention is Web3 blockchain. There's something there, but at the same time, it's a bloated market, in my opinion. It was bloated then. It's still bloated, in my opinion, because there's a lot of hype around it, but not a lot of real use case. I think there's something interesting with international payments, probably, but that's probably about it.
Yeah,
um,
probably yes. I agree.
right. So if you're in Web3, expect a hard time coming. I don't want to be like a doom doom predictor or anything, but it's just the reality. If you're in a real industry with real use cases, you're probably in a safer place. Web3 is a small part of the economy in general. It's a big part of tech Twitter and tech X, but I just wanted to mention that. All right, now that people are being kind of quiet, I think it's a good time to close the space. It's been about an hour, so that makes sense that people are being quiet. I feel like they probably got enough out of this particular one. Again, if you're interested in building public, which is a great way to network in tech, in the longer term, in my opinion, it's still the best way to get a job in tech. If you disagree, that's fine. You can let me know. And people can focus on different things. If you want to focus more on general networking, I think that's totally understandable too. But if you want to learn more about that, come join us on our Discord on October 24th. And I might even go to that Discord right now just to listen to music, do some work. We did a lot. Rajneesh, often is there. Sometimes he shares, his experience with everyone. If you have any questions and don't want to talk in public, if you want to talk in a smaller space or even ask questions in text, feel free to join us there. And I think I'll just go over to Discord. If I don't see anyone, I'm not gonna do anything. But if I see someone, if I see questions or something in the voice chat, that's what we do. I'll be there, at least for a little bit. We'll see. All right, we're gonna move over to our Discord, pin at the top, in three. Wait, I see. I was gonna do a countdown, but then I see a request from Rajneesh. Let's see what he has to say. Okay, I was gonna close the space, but you're here, Rajneesh. What's up?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Lawrence. Good evening, Tony. Good evening, Vishal. Good evening, YK. Hello, everyone. I'm Rajneesh. I'm here and just come up here and say, everyone, if if you don't like Spotify, join our Discord, like CS Dojo Discord. And yeah, listen. Yeah, yesterday I got the method how to play music in the Discord in the music channel. Chris told me how to use it. Shout out to Chris. Thanks for helping me. Yeah, that's it, Vicky. Thanks for giving the mic.
All right, and are you there now, or are you gonna be there in a minute?
If you end this in a 3 or 2 or 1 second, I will be there.
Sounds good. So Rajneesh at least will be there. If you want to join him there, we'll be there. So thanks so much for coming over here again. I'll do the proper countdown now. We're moving to our Discord in three, two, one. Bye, everyone.